We're talking Vol-mageddon today. Most of you will remember 5 months ago that infamous VIX spike that we saw in early February. That marked the peak of VIX ETP mania. Since then, we've seen the volume of these products be cut nearly in half, from $75 billion a month, Eric, to about $40 billion. So talk us through this sort of aftermath of that Vol-mageddon.
Yeah, most of the drop in volume, which is serious, came from the inverse VIX ETP side. So XIV, which everyone remembers, infamous, right? That went away. That took out $15 billion in monthly volume with it. Now, the one that was surviving, SVXY, that one took down about $10 billion in monthly volume. What happened with SVXY, I think it kind of like repelled both of its investors. Vol-mageddon scared retail away. They're like, I'm done with that. And I think the hardcore people didn't like the fact that they went from inverse 1 time to inverse 0.5. So they cut their exposure in half. So you don't get the same juice. But SVXY is up 20% in the past 3 months, and nobody cares. So SVXY definitely was one of the ones that I was surprised about. But those two collectively, we're looking at $25 billion in VIX ETP volume just basically gone, which I'm sure is good news to people who are worried about this area and people, buying into it. It's basically gone. Yeah, this is, look at, you can see
this is the chart of the SVXY that you're talking about, and the big drop in price, and also you see the volumes on the bottom there basically collapsing.
It's flatlined.
Yeah. And just to remind folks, this whole Vol-mageddon happened when we saw a spike in volatility. People had been short volatility, and so it blew out that one ETP in particular. On the long side, though, that was short vol, and SVXY is still short vol. What's happening in terms of long volatility trades?
Mostly still holding up. These are older products. They've retained their audience, mostly a little bit less. But what's interesting about this area is while you're seeing there's VXX's volume, but keep in mind, VXX is going away. It's an ETN and it matures, and it's maturing in January. So VXX will cease to exist, and right now that side trades about 45 billion. I think you could see volume cut in half, because while Barclays has introduced VXXB to do the same thing, to take the investors who are using VXX, you cannot transfer liquidity in like a month or even a year. There's been several cases of this, like UWTI was really popular, traded 500 million a day. It closed. UWT, which was supposed to replace it, only trades 100 million after 18 months.
Wow.
It's like moving an ocean. You can move assets a little easier, but liquidity is harder. So you could see the long side have their volume cut in half. So all in, VIX ETPs could go from trading 75 billion a month to 25 billion this time next year.